What's up guys, my name is Matthew and today I am doing my October wrap up. Alright, so in October, I read a total of 6 books, not a huge number, but I mean, they were some pretty good books. I read 2 5-star books, Alice Feeney, Rock, Paper, Scissors, and State of Terror by Hillary Rodham Clinton and Louise Penny. 2 4-star books were Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward, and then 1 3-star book, which was my Agatha Christie book of the month, The Murder on the Links. And then I read like a spirituality book, like nonfiction, Stillness Speaks by Eckhart Tolle. And I didn't really rate this one because it's like a book about spirituality, but I will talk about it at the end. So let's jump on in. All right. So the first book I read this month was Alice Feeney's Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I adored it. I thought it was so good, super wintry vibes, a thriller that was perfectly executed. I did guess the entire plot. I don't know how, but I knew exactly what was going on, but I don't think it was obvious. It was a very well written book, and even though I knew what was going on, I still loved it. This book is about a married couple who are kind of, in a dying relationship. The marriage just isn't what it used to be. And they win a trip to Scotland in kind of like the forest or like, in bumfuck. And they go up to Scotland to this like old church that was kind of converted into like, I guess, a house. So it's a pretty big like house. And they want a trip there, so they go there. And spooky things start happening. And we're also getting chapters from the main guy's wife. She writes to him every year, but she doesn't let him see the letters. So we're getting that perspective. We're getting this perspective from the wife. We're getting a perspective from the husband and trying to figure out like, what's going on? Why are they really at this abandoned church? What's happened in their relationship? And it all just folds together so nicely. It was so well done. I definitely recommend you pick this one up. 5-star. I've actually tabbed it and I'm gonna read one of them because this is my channel and I'm gonna read one, okay? Here we go. I wish people were more like books. If you realize halfway through a novel that you aren't enjoying it anymore, you can just stop and find something new to read. Same with films and TV dramas. There's no judgment, no guilt, no one even needs to know unless you choose to tell them. But with people, you tend to have to sit it through to the end, and sadly, not everyone gets to live happily ever after. And I think that kind of like sums up the book. But yes, that was the first book I read this month. The second 5-star book I read this month was Hillary Clinton's book, State of Terror, and this was a political thriller that I fucking loved. And I was expecting it to be like a shitty book that Hillary Clinton just released to make some money, if I'm being honest. Nothing against Hillary Clinton, but usually when these famous people release books, they're like pretty shitty and they're just like looking for money. This book was so good. Like I felt like I was watching a movie. Like I was reading the page, like skimming it and reading it so fast. Sorry that I'm talking so fast. I was out of coffee, so I'm drinking a pre-workout for my morning energy, and I'm like, like shaking because I feel like I'm on like drugs or something. This book was so good. It's about a new administration taking over, and this woman becomes Secretary of State, and there are terrorist attacks that are happening around the world, and we're following the Secretary of State trying to figure out what is behind all of these terrorist attacks. She's flying all over the world. Is there a mole among them? He's the mole. Anyway, it was so good. I read this in like maybe 1 or 2 sittings. Like I read it in a day and stop. And yeah, it was really good. And I was shocked. Hillary Clinton does take some serious jabs at Donald Trump. Like she was just like, I don't give a fuck. And she like ripped him to pieces. She like literally made this old president like a complete bumbling idiot who like put the America, I sound like Miss South Carolina, who put the United States in risk of terrorism, who didn't give a fuck, who negotiated with terrorists, and it's clearly Donald Trump. Like the way she writes him and like all the little aspects about the ex-president, it's so good. But it really wasn't that political. Like I don't even think they mentioned Republicans or Democrats the whole thing. So if you worry about that, it's really not political. They do have jabs at Donald Trump, but for the most part, this is one of these books that you're just gonna rip through, and it's pretty good. Were the twists shocking? No, but it was so much fun. So the next book I read, I think I gave somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5. I mean, it was a fantasy book. I did a complete reading vlog on it, so I'm not gonna go into so much detail in this wrap up. I will link the reading vlog down below where I completely break down this world, break down the characters, break down the magic system. But for people who don't know, this is the Mistborn series that my brother sent me, and it was my first serious fantasy book that I've read, besides like Harry Potter, and I read the Game of Thrones a bunch, years ago. But this is about a world where the bad guy wins, and there are these like underground people who are trying to overthrow the bad guy. And that's kind of like the gist, but there's a lot going into it. I mean, look at this book. Like, it's little bitty words, and I read it and I had a great time. I'm gonna read the rest of the series. I need a break because it was heavy. I can't read fantasy back to back because like I had like a hangover because I was like, ugh, I had to read like thrillers and romance because this took a lot out of me. But it was very good, and I think it's a great book if you're new to fantasy or kind of want to dabble in fantasy, because it's, from what I hear, not as intense as regular fantasy books. And there's even some romance in it, and I love the romance. I wish there was more romance because I really like the dynamic between the two love interests. I literally am making a fantasy book into a love story, but whatever, it was really good. Check out my reading vlog down below where I don't spoil anything, but I kind of give you a breakdown more in depth of what this book is actually about. So the book I just finished, The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. 4 stars. One of those books of the year that I'm just like, what the fuck did I just read? It was wild. My camp weekend ween video, I give a lot of thoughts on this. I'll link it down below if you want a more detailed. But I'm actually going to read the cover to you because I don't want to spoil anything, and I'm scared if I start talking about this book, I'm gonna spoil it. It's very important that you go into this book not being spoiled and not knowing much, because the revelation is like, whoa, whoa. The reason I give it 4 stars is because the first 200 pages, you literally don't know what is happening. And it was super frustrating. I was reading chapter after chapter of just stories, and they're like puzzle pieces, and you're just like, I don't understand what's happening. So if you're reading this book and you're confused, wait to page 200 and everything will make sense. But up until then, you're gonna be like, I don't even know what I'm reading. But okay, this is what the little blurb is. In a boarded up house on a dead-end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. And a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. And oh, also the cat is gay. Yes, this is a gay cat who reads the Bible, and we get to read about the cat's thoughts. So if that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will. An unspeakable truth binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried along the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. That was... This book is such a trick. It's a trick, but it was impressive. Props to this author for pulling it off. I'm leaving it there. I don't want to spoil anything. Pick it up. Be okay with being confused. And Gabby Reads and Books and Lala had like a live show on it, and they went into some serious topics and really broke down this book. So definitely check that out, because when you read this book, you're going to want to talk about it, and you're going to want to hear other people's opinions about it, because it's a very thought-provoking book. But yeah, definitely pick this one up, and it's gonna be one of those books that it's gonna sit with you. My Agatha Christie book of October was The Murder on the Links, the next book in the Hercule Poirot series. I'm gonna be honest with you, this book was mediocre at best for me. I already kind of have forgotten the plot. I know who the killer or killers or, whatever are, and that's about all I remember. It's set on a golf course. Hercule Poirot is called out because this guy thinks he's in danger. He ends up dead, and then we're trying to figure out who done it. And I think this book is forgettable. This isn't one that I would really recommend to people trying to get into Agatha Christie, because I personally found it to be super boring. I gave it 3 stars because I finished it, I didn't DNF it, and it was okay. The ending did shock me a little bit, but other than that, I don't think I will remember what happens in this book in 2 months, because that just wasn't for me. As for the spirituality book I read Stillness Speaks, which Eckhart Tolle is like the bomb. If you've never read his books, you totally should, regardless whether you're Christian, atheist, agnostic, Muslim, whatever you are. It's not about religion, and it's life-changing. It's all about living in the present moment, disidentifying with the guy and girl in your head who's just being negative and mean to you. I'm gonna have to edit that, that was so bad. But if you are interested in this in Eckhart Tolle, watch his YouTube videos or pick up The Power of Now, because this is his first book and it really just kind of breaks down the philosophy and like what he's all about and kind of what his message is. But yeah, that's me preaching for you. That's, if you're interested in spirituality or just, you know, living a better life, a happier life, and you're tired of being anxious or depressed, I definitely recommend checking out Eckhart Tolle because he is awesome. I actually went and saw him live in Vancouver like 2 years ago with my brother. I've been following him. He was on Oprah when I was like in 8th grade, and I picked up A New Earth because Oprah did like a class with him. Like every week you read a chapter, and I was doing that at like 8th grade. But if you never heard of Eckhart Tolle, give him a shot. See what he's about, regardless of what your religious beliefs are, because this I say spirituality, but it's nothing to do with religion. All religions are compatible, or non-religions are compatible with his teachings. Okay, so that's all the books I read. I just got home and I had a bunch of packages because I was gone for like a week for work. So I'm gonna do a quick little book haul. I'm not gonna sit there and tell you what the books are about because some of them I don't know what they're about, but I love watching people's book hauls. So I'm gonna show you what I got in the mail. Okay, the first one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Holly Jackson. I think this is the young adult thriller mystery, and I only heard good things about it. Even people who don't like young adult books are recommending this, so I'm definitely gonna read this. I think it's book 1 of 3, so it's a series. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I'm so late to the party on this one, but I need to read it. This is a male, young adult, and apparently it's just like a book, and the sequel came out like 2 weeks ago or something, so I need to catch up and get on it. This next book is like a sci-fi book that I watched someone do a YouTube review of it and I was really intrigued. It's called A Memory Called Empire, and it's like sci-fi political thriller. Like there's different worlds and like they go in space, but there's different like communities and people are ambassadors to different worlds, and it just sounds really cool. So we'll see if I can get to that this year, but I was very intrigued. We also have Karen Slaughter's new book, A False Witness. This is Gabby Reed's Book of the Month for November. And I've never read Karen Slaughter, but I heard her books are really good and really intense and can be really graphic, so I'm a little concerned, but I'm gonna try to get this one in for November. I got 2 books for the Book of the Month for November. I got The Collective by Allison Galen, and this is a revenge story about a mom getting revenge for her daughter, I think. That's about all I know. And then I also got an add-on, the new Lisa Jewell book, The Night She Disappeared, waiting for the audiobook to come in from Libby so I can like read it and listen to the audiobook on this one. But those all came in the mail this week. Lots of thrillers, obviously. I'm not doing a TBR this month because I'm just gonna spontaneously pick up books and read them on my whim instead of being like locked down on a TBR. That just gives me pressure. So we'll see how that goes. I've already read 3 books in November and it's like November 5th. So November is looking to be a good month. Yeah, so I think that's all I read this month. Those are the books I just got in the mail. I'm gonna do another reading vlog for a book that I just started. I'm super excited about it because this book has been on my TBR for 2 years now, and people keep telling me to read it. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but be expecting, I'll tell you this, it's about a gay character, shocking, but be expecting a reading vlog on that. And I hope you guys have a good November, and I will see you soon.